Welcome to BaseballGuys.com. I'm your host, Ray Flowers. Edwin Encarnacion, the third baseman for the Blue Jays, well, he's no longer the third baseman for the Blue Jays. He's really struggled since returning from injury. He had a really hot start and then has just fallen flat on his face. He's hitting 200 for this season. He's striking out. He's not putting the ball in play. He's showing no plate discipline. So the Blue Jays made the decision to send him down to the minors to get him to work on his stroke. A day later, he's been designated for assignment. Now, what that means is any team can pick him up if they're willing to take on his contract. The Blue Jays feel pretty confident no team is going to do that based upon his big-time struggles. But I wouldn't be at all shocked if another team came along and said, we'll take that risk with Encarnacion, we'll pick him up, potentially move him to the outfield, and give him a chance to fulfill the expectations that have been with him for years since he had 26 home runs a couple of seasons ago. This is the low point for Encarnacion. Let's hope he comes back slugging. But at this point, he's basically without a team and looking for some place to play in 2010. Ryan Franklin, well, he knows where he's going to be after the 2011 season, and that's not with the St. Louis Cardinals. It's with his family. Franklin came out and said, look, I'm going to pitch this year, I'm also going to pitch next year, and then that's it for me. Now, we sometimes forget the fact that Franklin's in his late 30s because it's taken him so long to really establish himself at the major league level, but he's basically come out and said, look, my family, my kids, they're the most important thing to me. I've missed so much of that growing up because I've been playing baseball. I'm going to quit that in a couple years and spend time with my family. Good for Ryan Franklin. It's good for the Cardinals in the sense that they have time to see if Jason Mott's the guy. They have time to make some reservations around Franklin because they have obviously a year and a half to make that decision. And good, again, for Ryan Franklin for taking the time out and realizing what's really important in life. David DeJesus is on absolute fire. Now, if you haven't been paying attention to DeJesus, you need to be. The Royals outfielder's hitting .328 on the season, but he's 100 points better than that in June. He's hitting .435 in the month of June. Now, a lot of teams are going to come calling for DeJesus this year. There was a report by John Morosi and Ken Rosenthal on Fox Sports that the Giants are going to be very interested in DeJesus. A lot of teams, like I said, are going to be very interested. DeJesus makes only $6 million next season. Now, DeJesus isn't going to challenge for the batting crown. He's not going to go 20-20. He's not going to do anything like that. But he's going to play every day. He's going to give you a little bit of power, a little bit of speed, a solid batting average, and be a good citizen. Every team can use a guy like that, and at that $6 million figure next year, he's very manageable trading piece. We'll have to wait and see what happens as we get closer to the trade deadline, but look for interest to be very high if the Royals really are willing to part with him at the end of the trade deadline. Mariano Rivera. Now, this is a guy who's been around forever. I mean, we seem to, just basically take for granted that he's going to be great no matter how old he is, and he's doing it once again. A 1.11 ERA this season. He saved 16 of 17 opportunities. His whip, for goodness sakes, is 0.58. He's got 21 straight batters out. Yeah, Mariano Rivera hasn't lost much with age. He came out today and also said, look, I'd be willing to sign a one-year deal to stay with the Yankees, very similar to what Andy Pettitte has done. That would be great for the Yankees so they wouldn't have to tie up long-term money with him since Rivera is getting toward the end of his career, obviously because of his age. But Mariano Rivera hasn't lost anything on the field. Obviously, he's going to retire as a Yankee, and right now, he's still one of the top 5 closers in all of baseball. Now, another situation I should mention before I move on from the Yankees real quickly, Phil Hughes is going to have his next start in the rotation skipped. He's not injured. There's no worries here. The team is just going to skip a start here and there to make sure they keep those innings pitched for him manageable. Remember, he worked last year out of the bullpen as the setup guy for Rivera, so again, he'll skip his next start and return to the rotation soon thereafter. There's 3 main rookies that are tearing it up right now, or at least in the news. Number 1 being Strasburg. He's been amazing. 32 strikeouts in his first 3 starts in the big leagues. That's an all-time record, breaking the previous record held by J.R. Richard. He's been great. I think the talk of him potentially being named to the All-Star team is absolutely ridiculous. I don't care how good he's been. If we're talking 6, 7 starts, he doesn't deserve to be on the All-Star team, but he deserves to be in everyone's fantasy lineup because he's been fantasy gold to this point. Carlos Santana has also been fantasy gold over in the American League at a weak catcher's position. He's hitting .393 in less than 2 weeks here with the big leagues. He's been batting 3rd for the Indians. Looks like he's going to get a chance to continue to do that moving forward as I get a call potentially about a trade that's in the works. We'll pass on that for now. Look for Santana to continue to be one of the top options in the AL at the catcher's position, and he's fully worth starting in mixed leagues at the moment. He's white hot. On the other side, the 3rd rookie, Mike Stanton of the Marlins. He's come up. He's had a little bit of a slow start. He's batting .233 here early in his career. He did a grand slam the other night. He's had some power. That's not surprising. But at the same time, he has struck out a ton. 44% of his at-bats have ended with a strikeout. Now, there's another young power hitter who came up who had a lot of promise, who struck out at a rate like that, and he's back in the minor leagues right now, and that's the Rangers' Chris Davis. Can't really compare the two guys, but what Stanton's doing right now is not going to keep him in the big leagues and keep him successful long term. You just can't have any level of effectiveness at the big league level if you're striking out 44% of the time. A guy like Mark Reynolds doesn't even reach 40%, so remember that when you're thinking about Mike Stanton. Finally, David Aardsma, another player that's going to be on the trade block here as we get closer to the deadline at the end of July. A lot of teams are already interested. He throws hard. For the most part, he throws strikes. Some concerns with Aardsma. I wasn't real high on him coming into the year. He gives up too many fly balls. He didn't give up enough home runs last year. He got pretty lucky with that. He's always had bouts of control issues, but when he's right and throwing strikes, he can be very effective. Look for a lot of teams to be interested in that power arm if the Mariners do indeed make him available come the trade deadline. I'm Ray Flowers, BaseballGuys.com. Thanks for joining me. And don't forget to visit me at twitter.com/baseballguys for a 24-hour day, well, maybe 18-hour day updates on the game of baseball.